Okay, so hey everybody, my name is Brian Fuller. I'm the CEO of Contigo Technology. The invite went out to all of our clients. We carved this up. We did a presentation like this last week to half the clients, and today we're doing it for the other half of our clients. And the invite, I sent it out to all the executives across our client base, and I asked if they weren't able to join in, please send it to somebody on the accounting side, because I think this is such an important topic. It's really one where when it comes down to it, when you're dealing with mid-sized companies day in and day out, nothing is more of a gut punch than a wire fraud case. Now, when I say wire fraud, I mean it to be the transfer of sums of money, transfers of funds to a malicious actor. And that has happened, and it's happened in spades. And I want to show you just how prevalent this issue is. This is a FBI data report for 2023. Business email compromise, which is wire fraud, is racked up $2.4 billion in losses. Now, I want you to compare that to something that has, from a naming convention, is a little bit more just as well known, which is ransomware. Ransomware only affected U.S. businesses at the sum of $49 million, compared to what today's topic is about, business email compromise, $2.4 billion. It's exponentially bigger, the topic that we're addressing today, and I'm going to define what it is, how it happens, and how to avoid it. And I'm going to do it all in a very short 20 minutes. So I'm going to roll through this thing. And first and foremost, what is wire fraud? Okay, so I know all of y'all are wise beyond your years. You all have a good sense of what wire fraud is, but let me just dumb it down and start from scratch. So it's when a bad actor tries to trick you or a member of your firm to transfer funds to them by posing as a vendor of a client of yours or a partner of yours, right? The majority of all of this activity happens over email. 100% of the time, the transfer of the funds is never verified by the sender. And that's one of the things I want to underscore. The transfer of funds is never verified by the sender. I've seen these email chains where people are trying to, are doing business with a partner, and there's $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 worth of funds that need to be exchanged for whatever reason. And a bank account change is asked for by the bad actor, and it's just accepted. Nobody checks for it, right? And so we need to be aware of what the bad guys, the cards that they have to show you when they're trying to manipulate you. And I'm going to show that to you. And by the way, the bad actors are actually counting on you being so busy that you don't check and verify. So let's be aware. Let's walk through this. Okay, so all of this activity starts with one of two avenues. The first one is a phishing email. We hear a lot of the phishing, spear phishing, target phishing, all of it. Okay, it's all kind of in the same category of stay on your toes and don't get fooled by a malicious email. But I'm going to break it down into two categories. A phishing email is what a bad actor will send out to thousands of people. It's like fishing with dynamite and seeing if anybody will get caught up in it, right? And a spear phishing email is much different. I'm going to show you some examples of spear phishing email, and that is when the information the bad actor has on the target is very detailed. And so it makes a big difference. In the spear phishing email, once they get their hooks into that, that's typically where the wire fraud happens. Okay, I got to say, before we kind of launch into it, look, it's not like what Contigo is doing for your environments. Is it securing the overall landscape, right? I want to show you just so you have a peace of mind that Contigo has a lot of defense mechanisms already in place to stop this nonsense. So let's actually walk through a scenario where an inbound email comes into your inbox and you see it. I'm going to use Office 365 as an example. So let's say an email comes in and it passes through. Well, it hits the spam filter that Contigo has right here, this Barracuda spam filter, and it looks at that email and it wants to know who sent the email and what's their reputation. It wants to know what's in the body of the email. You know, are there links? Are there attachments? And the spam filter will go and assess those attachments. And if it doesn't get a good sense of it, and it doesn't pass the smell test, you know, as Barracuda smell test, it won't let that email get through. And you know, that Barracuda spam filter, it stops probably 97% of all this malicious attempts that come into your environment and to all the employees that are on your team. It catches that much. But there's some that will get through. And I want to talk about that. So once it gets through, if it's a bad email, a phishing or spear phishing, it gets through and it sits here, and you as the employee log in to Office 365 to see that email. You know, some of the things we have in when you log in, everybody by now should be on MFA. Contigo has encouraged all of our clients to get there. If you're one of the very few who haven't, it's free. We want you to do it. Just talk to your client success manager. When bad viruses are on the PC, we've got about 3 different products on there. We can see that. That's not the problem, right? The problem is that that email got through right here, and it's sitting here and it's waiting for the end user. And that end user now has got to be very clued in and aware so that they don't make what could be the final, the bad decision. Where we're also doing some really cool stuff that I think y'all should all be aware of. Like we make sure that nobody can log into the Office 365 environment from foreign nations. They can't change rules in Office 365. So we're doing, quite a bit. But the question that I would have if I was in your shoes is, well, if you're doing all this stuff, why does stuff get through? Well, it's an excellent question. One of the reasons stuff gets through is let's look at Gmail, for example. 70 to 80% of businesses out there use Gmail. I know every one of y'all have a client or an important consultant that has a Gmail account. So obviously we can't cut out Gmail accounts and say they can't get in, right? So that's an opportunity for a bad actor to use a Gmail account to get in. And just to show you how devious these bad actors are, the Barracuda spam filter will look at those Gmail accounts and try to determine if it has a good reputation, if it's been used for a while. If it's brand new, it's basically off the shelf, it won't get through. But there's software mechanisms out there that the bad guys do that call warming up the Gmail account. So before they start sending from it, they'll spend 2 weeks going through a warm-up process, receiving emails. So by the time it comes through the Barracuda, it looks like it's a seasoned Gmail account. Okay, that's one way. The second way is, let's say you have a partner out there, and I know this has happened. It's happened to everybody. Let's say you have a partner and it's john.doe at the abc.com account. And let's say they have no type of security. They don't work with an MSP like Contigo. They just kind of wing it. And they somehow or another get hacked themselves. And the bad actors use that john.doe email account to send it to you. And it's an account that you've dealt with a lot, and they've sent emails to you a lot, and they send that email into you, and it passes the Barracuda, and now it sits in your inbox. It's as easy as that. I mean, so it's the challenge that Contigo has. Like, we can't block everything. I mean, all of our clients need to work. So now it's at the user's level that they have to be aware and have some policies in place. All right, let's take a look at some pretty simple phishing emails. I know you've probably seen something like this. This is one that came to me. This is from debt collections at Deloitte. looks kind of, Deloitte. Obviously, I'd hover over that and say something. The domain would be very different than that. But nonetheless, they sent it to me. It's very generic. I don't do business with Deloitte. There's no specific information in here that means anything to me. Quite honestly, I delete it. But look what they do. It's actually, I got to give them a tip of the hat for the effort. They come back with another domain and send it to my accounting department and ask the accounting department to pay it. So, it's definitely a phishing email. I mean, they're just trying to see who might answer to it. But if I have somebody in my accounting department that's not very seasoned, it's their first month on the job, they could very well make a mistake here and pay that invoice. Same thing here. This is another phishing email, came in to me from a law office, very generic. Nothing in this body of this email is specific to me. But once again, they create another domain and send it to my accounting department asking me to pay the invoice, right? So it's all it's not specific, but I got to tell you, it's not a Nigerian prince either. I mean, they're putting some time and effort into this. And now with the bad guys using AI and how they craft and email up their language, and they're not making as many they're not making grammar mistakes like they used to, which was also super identifiable. Okay, so how does the really bad stuff happen? All right, I just showed you two phishing emails. They both got in. Where I can tell that wasn't real. But how does it go one step further? Let me show you what is going on out there and how the bad guys can make this stuff work for them and wire transfers happen. Okay, so that example I showed you, that john.doe@abc.com, his company gets hacked. He sends out an email to 1,000 of his associates. This is John, his associate, and this is John.doe here, the hacked associate. Sends an email in. It comes into you. Let's just say this is you right here. It comes into your email. You've worked with John Doe at ABC. He tells you to click on a SharePoint link because you want to be, because for whatever reason, you click on it. It takes you to your Office 365, where Microsoft recognizes you because you've been into Office 365 2 or 3 times a day, creates a session ID, and then the bad actor right here, it's all automated. They're not just sitting there watching. It's all automated, captures the session ID, and now they're in your Office 365. Okay, so what do they do when they're in Office 365? You can only imagine. They're reviewing all of your communications. They're identifying and looking for open invoices. They're copying email chains. They're doing everything that they can to send an email that's more targeted, like this example. So Laura at startup.com and Andrew Jenkins at startup.com. Laura sends it to Andrew, says, hey, I'm at RegTech. Just spoke with Robbie, talking about this NNU account. Everything's very specific. It's not only very specific, but it's also coming from startup.com to startup.com. So Laura's email has been hacked, and she's sending specific information to Andrew, basically asking him to pay an outstanding invoice. And if Andrew reports up to Laura and he's not, they don't have any policies in place, he could very well pay 2 months worth of invoices, and who knows how much that costs. It's happening, and it's happening consistently, and the bad guys are finding their ways in there, and they're any accounting department personnel who's not on their toes looking for this, they need to be. But there's one thing the bad guys can't do. This is the red flag. This is the one thing the bad guys show their hand on each and every time. If at any point in a transaction with a partner or with a client, or heck, even in your personal life, if anybody tells you that bank account changes are needed, it's the biggest red flag. It's the one thing they can't automate. They have to tell you a bank account has been changed. Now, when that, I'm just telling you right here, take everything we're talking about today for your business life and apply it also to your personal life. The bad guys don't care if they're taking money from you on a business account or if they're taking money from you when you're making a down payment on a new property or on a new car. You know, they could care less. So wire transfers, fraud, it happens commercial and business, but they're always going to show you their hand because they're always going to tell you that the bank account information has changed. So let's talk about what the bank's responsibility is real quick. They don't have any. We've all gone down to the bank to do a wire transfer request. We've all had the teller push the paper out in front of us, and we had to verify that our wire transfer funds are written down properly on their paper, which says we are not responsible for this. And you take out your extra thick eyeglasses to make sure that the numbers are right, right? It's not super comfortable, but you know that you're on the hook for it. The banks don't have any responsibility. And once the funds are received in the fraudulent account, the funds are gone and the account's closed. So let's talk about what actions, if that was to happen, right? What would you do? Well, you do have time to make some moves, right? I mean, obviously engage an attorney, let the attorney know they're not going to help you get the funds back. But step one. Step two, the banks react. So the bank that you send it to and your bank that you send it through, they respond to what are called SWIFT recalls. So you would contact both banks and you would initiate a SWIFT recall and give them the information, and they will go try to get the funds back. The FBI is a part of the process too. They have an internet crime complaint center, and I know you feel like calling into that, it'll be like throwing a wrench down a hallway. It's not. They move quickly and they want to help. You have to do a background. You have to go find the source of this. The bad guys always leave their fingerprints. They always leave their fingerprints. And you want to be able to tell that story because you will need it for a couple different reasons. And then you want to review the existing insurance coverage, right? So what the insurance covers, insurance does cover these scams. They're turning the knob on how much responsibility you have to have your house in order before they pay up on the claim. But I will tell you that most cyber insurance policies are about $250K, right? So whether you're getting cyber insurance through your business liabilities, error and omissions, or you have actually cyber security policy itself, if there's a wire fraud claim, it's about $250K they'll pay out. But I can tell you from Contigo's perspective and working with our clients and the cyber insurance policies that they're signing, the cyber insurance companies are coming back and they're requiring our clients to have more and more of a secure posture. So they want almost all their insurers to require that they have a second authentication procedure before they transfer those funds. And underwriters are demanding that those controls be in place. I haven't seen anything be turned down. I just see that the responsibility that they're putting on our clients is a little bit more strict. Okay, how do we avoid all of this nonsense? It's very easy. Like I said, the first way is when those bank account changes happen, it's full on have your head on a swivel. I would like to say I want to have the leaders of our clients really be champions that everybody's taking the Contigo cybersecurity training. I know that there's some clients who love it and they look at their score, and other clients like, I don't have time for this. I'm telling you that the weak link in the chain here that the bad guys are seizing on are people. And if the more aware people can be of their overall cyber awareness, the better off that organization they work for is. Create 2 internal controls within the accounting department or anybody who has to deal with payments. A written control for when a vendor or client changes the request. That written control should have a couple steps in it. One, pick up the phone and and call the person who made the change and validate that it's legit. Validate that phone number that you picked up to call is legit. And if the numbers, depending on what kind of numbers y'all are transferring on a consistent basis, have another member of the firm cross-reference the change and perform the same authentication process a second time. Bank account changes don't happen all that often. We all know that. And so if you have a written policy, when something like that happens, it's great insurance and staying out of the way from all this nonsense. The second thing is have a written control for urgent requests from someone inside your company. So obviously in that example with Laura and Andrew at startup.com, you know, I hope Andrew would have picked up the phone and called Laura and says, are you asking me to pay these 2 invoices? Make the phone call, call the originator of the request. And if you follow these very simple practices, you will not run into anything and you will not be adding any fuel to that $2.4 billion that the FBI is keeping an eye on. So that's it. I don't know if I kept it 30 minutes. I tried to, but if nothing else, you walk away, just know that bank account changes are the bad guys' telling card. Have a couple written policies in place. Talk about it amongst your folks. Talk about it with your family as well, so that everybody's just aware that to pick up the phone and call each other when stuff like this happens. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm gonna pause for just a second and let anybody who has a question, you can enter it into chat, and I'm happy to answer anything. If you want the slide deck, you can certainly ask Varen or Travis, your client success managers, and they can forward on it over to you. But that's it, and I'll give it a second. And I'm looking in the chat. Okay. Can we get the video of this to share with the full accounting team? Yes, Ross. I'd be happy to share that with you. You're welcome, Ryan. I'm happy to see you here, Ryan. Thanks for joining. Okay, everybody. It looks like that's it. I'll send out the video as well. And hey, stay safe out there. Talk to you soon. Thanks for letting us be your IT support firm. We appreciate it. Take care.